Hey everybody, it's Chris, and tonight we're looking at the second of Dynamics releases for the 2021 season. This is going to be the Evader. It is a 1.8 centimeter rim fairway driver, so it's going to be more of a traditional 7 or 8 speed fairway as opposed to like the Escape and the Convict and the Getaway, which are 2.0 centimeter rims or a 9 or 10 speed. It's a little bit slower than those, but definitely going to get the job done. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So I'm going to tell you that initially, when this disc came out, I heard a lot of people saying this is supposed to be an Eagle-style disc. And this is a little bit of my personal story. Before Dynamic came in the game, I threw a lot of Eagle X's or Discraft similar disc, the Talon, which not a lot of people know about, and that's fine. But it was a lot like an Eagle X, especially the different versions I'd broken in. It was the heart of my bag. Now, when Dynamic came in, the Escape took over my bag. I have 5 of them in there, sometimes 6. I love that disc. It's very straight flyer. It goes long distance. I can do a lot of things with it. But I've always missed that Eagle type slot, that disc that wasn't a felon overstable. I could really turn it. I could turn it just a little bit and it was going to turn out just a touch, but it had a really hard, reliable fade. And what I really loved them for was spike hyzers, because they had enough stability to really hold that line, and it gave me that extra height that I might not be able to get to with my slower arm speed with like a felon type disc. So when this disc was announced and I heard that, I got really excited. Took them out to the field. Threw one at like 75%, and it flew very, very straight and dumped, and I thought that felt really good. I'm going to dial it up, so I grabbed the other one. Unusual for me, I grabbed both of the protos and threw them both. Threw it hard, which is a little bit of tilt, which is how I always used to throw the Talons and Eagles. Just a little bit of tilt. It kicked out, flattened, and then dumped hard. And that was a flight I knew very well. And in fact, I knew it so well that I took one of the discs and put it in my bag. And it's still there. It's over there in the bag. It's got my ink on it. It's going to be a thrower. So obviously I like the disc, but let me tell you more about it so that you can make up your own mind as well when you're watching the video. Got to be as unbiased as I can when obviously I'm biased on this one. So the rim is going to feel very familiar if you've ever thrown an Eagle or had it in your hand. In fact, I'm going to include a picture after this. I'm also going to include a picture of an Explorer because I think that's another slightly lower diameter rim disc in the lineup, which is going to show up. And a lot of people ask to compare to a Getaway, so I have one of my first Getaways in here, and that's going to show up as well. But this disc, I think what you're going to find is a little bit harder fade than an Explorer, similar speed, and if you turn it a little bit, it likes to have that nice, beautiful helix or S-flight, whereas the Explorer might hold the line a little bit more and fade just a bit. This is going to give you that beautiful helix curve with that finish, which is a flight, again, that I love. So I'm going to stop gushing about the disc, and instead I'm going to take you to send you to the video so that you can see it in flight. That way you can ask questions. Put them below as always so I can get back to you. But yeah, unbiased review. Sorry, not this time. I actually really do love this disc. But we'll go to the video. Thanks. Here are those promised wing comparisons for you. As you can see, not quite as domey as the modern Eagle X, a little more reminiscent of an older, slightly older run, and then next to the Explorer as well. Now we're going to go out to the field, and I'm actually going to show you some Justin Hanks throws first. Justin was out at the course, so I had him jump in and throw some for me. You can see here this was his second throw, a little bit flatter of a release, nice solid fade at the end. And then here was his first throw with a lot of hyzer compared to an Explorer. Now they do disappear, but they're going to come in through over the pavilion in just a second right now. And you can see similar fades, but the Explorer was coming down just a little bit harder. And this is the big reason I asked Justin to join me. He is a much better forehand thrower than I am. He put quite a bit of hyzer on this one. You can see it holds that line the entire way. Sorry again about the skyline. And then this was a flatter release with a little bit of torque on it, a little bit of turnover. You can see a beautiful S-curve out of the disc before finishing pretty straightforward. On this one he's trying to go up over the trees, but again he turned it over just a little bit. Still fought back, put him just outside the circle. Wasn't quite what he wanted. Now here are my first 2 ever throws. This is my first one, 75, maybe 80%, probably closer to 75. Just a nice straight line, decent fade, and then I ratcheted up the power, turned the disc over a little bit, and got that beautiful little kick out and then fade back, and that was when I knew I loved the disc. A couple more throws, St. Patrick's Day, I've got the Ireland jersey on. Just a nice hard hyzer. Got some decent distance out of it, and then a bigger flex. This is one of my better throws of the day with any disc I was throwing that day. I was pretty happy with how that one turned out. Into the fog. This is the fog that actually delayed my EMAC Judge review, because as you can guess, a gray disc definitely disappears. The Explorer is a little bit trickier to watch, but you can see it's a little bit straighter line. Doesn't fade quite as hard as the Evader. The Evader's wing tilts down a little bit harder, that extra bit of fade. Then we're going to flex them a little bit. You're going to watch the Explorer just keep tracking right. It holds just a little bit straighter line. Its stability doesn't kick in quite as fast as the Evader's, and the Evader's going to end up a decent amount more left than the Explorer because it comes out of that, or fights out of that more. Here's the Getaway. Now notice the Getaway is not thrown as high, and also I wasn't throwing it as hard. This is because it is a faster disc, so at the same amount of power, it's going to act more overstable. So the comparison is not 100%, but you can see I can put the Evader on a much tighter or a more significant hyzer angle on the release, and with the Getaway I can get a similar result on a longer loop. Now that just tells me that I can bag both styles of disc, and in fact I will. Here's compared to a Chameleon Escape, and the Escapes are actually what will stay in my bag. They'll give me just a slightly faster disc to keep relying on when the Evader isn't quite long enough for what I want. But you can see here the Evader fades back to the pin, whereas the Chameleon just keeps going straight. Now to the course. This is one of the first throws in the course with the disc. Just a 75-80% hyzer, keeping it low, skip up to the basket. Here, even with the football, I was trying to stay under the branches. I think if I had missed that branch right there, I would have been right up by the pin, but it took just a little bit of speed off it. Throwing some hyzers. This was a little bit too far outside, but it does get within the circle, which I was surprised by. And then the correction, again with a foot fault. Getting the disc up nice and high, letting the stability pull it right back to the basket. This one was actually right underneath the pin. Here's that first shot, putting from it. Now this basket is just a little bit out of my range with the distance. I think it's about 360, 370, but with the added elevation, I just have trouble getting there, so just gave it a lot. You could see it kick out. Again here, flexing too much, but still gets right inside the circle, and we'll clean up with an EMAC judge again. Now the next couple of throws are hole 17 at Severn Lang. This is one of the tougher holes for me out there. This tunnel is seemingly easy to get, but you need to track just a little bit right before fading to the pin. And with this disc, I was giving him just a little bit of tilt. You can see from the left side of the tee pad, I was turning them right, and they were fading back at the pin. I was really expecting a bigger skip, so I was a little bit farther out on those than I expected, but I was really happy with the result from the flight of the disc itself. Here from the short pad in hole 18, just getting around the corner. Actually didn't put quite enough hyzer on it, and then throwing the very rare forehand approach, probably one of the better ones I've ever thrown, and then, of course, missing the putt. But overall, the Evader is a 1.8 centimeter fairway driver with a very comfortable rim. It's going to be familiar to some of the older, more classic fairway drivers you may have thrown. I would recommend picking one up because I love it, but yeah, that's me. If you like this video or found it informative, please feel free to like it, share it, or of course subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.